I needed a job, just any job, didn't really have a skill set other than the fact that I could speak English. This is Poland, so that was a skill well sought after at that point. It was a shit looking CV, but I do not know to this day what the founder, CEO saw in me or in that CV, but he invited me for a call, bombed the interview, and they still hired me. That person is now the godfather of my sons. I was doing like 4 million in recurring revenue at that time. Joined, built a sales team, rest is rock and roll history, grew at 31 million. I decided to leave the company because I think it was the end of the journey. For the most part, I've done pretty much everything. I wanted to take some time off, spend some time with the kids, and just kind of like explore. I don't think we get a lot of the time to explore. SDRs don't get enough credit. And the fact that you're in sales is kind of ironic, but you're constantly singing for your supper. With sales, when the month ended, you're pretty much starting and resetting from the beginning, right? Doesn't matter, you crush your quota, great. But October just ended. Now you're in the month of November. And if you bomb that, you're screwed type of thing, right? Say, why don't you just run it? We'll learn on the go. And I made so many mistakes. I was a shit manager. Shit is just being polite. But I learned quite a lot from that experience.
Some of the best SDRs may not be, or even AEs may not be the best managers. They're good at managing themselves, but not others. And you got to put other people and their paychecks first over you.
Yeah. But like you said, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head here, which is not everybody's cut out to be manager. Being manager is a shit job. I swear to God, like I can tell you that right now. Like I wish I was controversial as it may sound. I would love to be an account executive because I have my own quota. I can go hit it. I don't have to worry about anything. At 5 p.m. I'm done. I mean, if you were to ask me right now, 13 years of leading people, it has its highs, but the lows, they overpower the highs like 10 to 1. Look, there's no such thing as an easy role in sales. I'm a firm believer in that because every job comes with its challenges. Point that those positions are so forgiving. Outbound is just not. And that's why the SDR's jobs are like even more harder than ever before because it just sucks to be in that position. There's so much riding on you. You just kind of feel like this is a cost center, but it's not. It is a revenue center.
Welcome to Prospecting Pros. And on today's episode, we have Syed. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So what I like to do is kick off every episode with a bit of background about you. Let the audience get to know how you got to where you are today. Give us a bit of background on some of your work experience and some of the roles and companies you've been with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my background purely where I started from was usability tools 2012, where I actually joined when I came to Poland. I needed a job, just any job, didn't really have a skill set other than the fact that I could speak English. This is Poland, so that was a skill well sought after at that point. So I was in a small city, Poznan. There's a company that was looking for an SDR/account executive. Sent my CV. It was a shit looking CV, but I do not know to this day what the founder, CEO saw in me or in that CV, but he invited me for a call, bombed the interview, and they still hired me. That person is now the godfather of my son. So naturally that relationship evolved quite a lot. Yeah, that was my start. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Bartosz or usability tools. So I got a job there, worked as an account executive, learned the ins and outs of SaaS as much as I could back then. And then when the head of sales at that company left, I was promoted to head of sales. So I got like a cheat code into management, built a team again from the scratch with me being the head of sales. Got a great opportunity to work at Text. Back then it was live chat in a different city, took it, did it. And then after that, I wanted to venture out a little bit, got to worked with another company in Warsaw, which is where I live, and built a sales team over there, and then moved out and tried to work with companies outside, which is where I worked with Presley for a while. I think about 3 years, give or take, built their sales team from the ground up. And I found Hubstaff through Clarity.fm. I used to be there, and the CEO needed some help with a project, and he just reached out to me randomly. We spoke, he liked it, and 6 months later, he was like, dude, we want to start a sales team. We want to do it with just you and nobody else. Can you come in and give it a try? Hubstaff was doing like 4 million in recurring revenue at that time. Joined, built a sales team, rest is rock and roll history, grew at 31 million. I had a small role to play in that. Became the first ever VP sales, the first ever VP of customer success. And about, I think in June of this year, I decided to leave the company because I think it was the end of the journey. For the most part, I've done pretty much everything. I wanted to take some time off, spend some time with the kids, and just kind of like explore. I don't think we get a lot of the time to explore different avenues and options. So this is what I'm doing right now, just exploring right now.
Well, I think that's important to take a step back and enjoy, your kids are under 10 years old and spend some time with them and watch them grow up it's easy to be stuck in front of a computer screen the vast majority of the day, and you miss out a little bit on some of the important stuff with taking care of your family and watching them grow up. So kudos to you for doing that. And we're going to get into a little bit about what you're doing now, but I think that's really cool that you took the moment, or you paused during your career to do that.
100%. Yeah.
But I also kind of had a similar story where someone took a chance on me, and I have no idea what they saw in me either. And when I got my first SDR role, because I had no experience in sales other than I was a tennis coach, and there's like a little bit of sales retention and repeat business there, but it's not behind a computer. And so, to this day, I don't know why they took a chance on me, similar to you, but like, it sounds like you got your feet wet doing some SDR work. Tell us about that and some of the experiences you had there, and how that helped you later on become more of it when you're ultimately a VP of sales.
Yeah, look, back then, I think outbound looked a little bit differently, different than, it does now. Back then, it was just grunt work. You got to send out a lot of the emails, doing a lot of the cold calls. You have a list that you need to reach out to. This is exactly what we did. Is I literally, to this day, my LinkedIn is just filled with UX designer and UI designers, because we would use the connect option in LinkedIn to connect to as many people as we can and then send the pitch right away. I don't think back then there was a sophisticated tool other than, I think, Yesware is what it was called. It would plug into your Gmail.
Yeah.
And you would do that. So I'm from that day of like times of doing outbound. It was just pretty brutal. And it taught me a lot. I don't think I got a lot of success from outbound, frankly, back then. But later on in my life, I did. When we started to become a little bit more sophisticated, I was working with a company that had a very good product market fit. Usability tools didn't so much. So I learned a lot about grunt work. And I think appreciation for how hard outbound really is, and that the fact that SDRs don't get enough credit. And the fact that you're in sales is kind of ironic, but you're constantly singing for your supper. You know what I mean? It's like with marketing, you have that privilege of, if you do something right, you can ride the coattails a little bit off that effort. With sales, when the month ended, you're pretty much starting and resetting from the beginning, right? Doesn't matter, you crush your quota, great. But October just ended. Now you're in the month of November. And if you bomb that, you're screwed type of thing, right? So it taught me a lot about resilience. Taught me a lot about just showing up, even if you feel like shit. And that is something that I've carried over pretty much in every single role. And I think every leader should do something like that in their career, and do it quite often, because it humbles you and it helps you understand the perspective of the people who actually carry everything, which are the folks in the trenches, your SDRs, your AEs. They're doing a lot of the grunt work.
I love working with people that have done it before, because one, they know how hard it is, and two, they're willing to give it a little bit more time. It's not, hey, there's one down month, this isn't working. They've done it before. They realize there's going to be ups and downs. There's testing, the market's changing. Maybe the product or service is rolling out something new. Like, it's not just going to be the consistent thing over and over again. So I love working with people that have actually done the work before. Now, when you were doing your SDR work, was it mainly, because I remember Yesware too, when that came out, that was like the coolest thing ever, that you could run these campaigns in your Gmail. Were you mainly doing stuff like email, LinkedIn related, or were you on the phones as well doing cold calls?
Yeah, cold calls definitely was a huge part. Although back then our focus was primarily email, because you could reach out to a lot of people. So I think if you were to divide the effort, I think it was like 20% of the times it was cold call, 80% it's just LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, I think, was at that time blowing up. People weren't spammed as much as they are now, for a lack of a better way to put it, where you connect and then right away get a message from somebody, hey, Syed, I got something to offer, so on and so forth. So I think people were still very bullish and more conscious of people reaching out. They would respond to you. So it was primarily that. While it worked, like I said, at that company, the results were iffy. But later on in my career, where we started perfecting, for instance, at text, at live chat, where we really going after the heavy hitters with a really refined strategy. Of course, it helped that we had a massive budget. Technology had gotten a little bit better. There were a lot more tools in the market, like Mixmax, for instance. I was talking to somebody from Mixmax. So like it was a progression. You have better data. You have a proper ICP to go after. So yeah, I mean, it was cold call, but I wouldn't say it was at the forefront. It was primarily just cold emails and a lot of social.
No, those channels used to work a whole lot better, especially email. Certainly, and it's gone down over time, which is a bummer, making it a lot harder. So I'm looking at your LinkedIn. You were an SDR for a while, but you quickly made it up the ranks and you were promoted. And as you went into new roles, you had head of sales jobs or VPs of sales jobs. Like, and I feel like it's common that a lot of SDRs get stuck in the SDR role, or maybe they make it to AE. What did you do to prove yourself and kind of show to leadership that, hey, I'm the right person for management? Like, what can you recall anything that you were doing different than your peers?
Pure luck, I think, is how I would respond, because it was way too early in my career to actually get a bump up to a head of sales, because I had zero idea how to manage anyone, a team, or anything for that matter. So it was just pure luck. Bartosz, our CEO, when Kuba, our head of sales, left, was obviously going to look for somebody else. And I was curious, like, Bart, I can run this for a while, see how things pan out. Our team wasn't massive. It was just 2 people. And I was already helping them. I was the senior person there, for a lack of a better way to put it. And he just said, hey, why don't you just run it? I have full confidence in your ability. We'll learn on the go. And I made so many mistakes. I was a shit manager. Shit is just being polite. But I learned quite a lot from that experience, got that opportunity. And then I think it's kind of like, once you earn that title, you stick with that title. I think that's what you're describing, what SDRs are like. Just they're kind of like stuck. Not stuck, I would say, in the sense that, I mean, they're doing well as SDR, so the next opportunity will be an SDR until, like you said, somebody else takes a chance on them and gives them an opportunity to go up to an AE or senior AE or an account manager, what have you. So the first opportunity I got was definitely just pure luck. The second one with Text was also luck, because somebody heard me speak at a certain event. And I guess that's what the privilege of being in Poland is, that if you can speak well, you shine out, or at least did back in the day. And I know Mariusz, he was the CEO of Text, he said, well, I want to work with you. I was like, well, great, let's do it. I went down to Wrocław, had an in-person meeting, and it just pretty much gave me the job right there and then. And then every step after that was just pretty much me grinding it out, trying to prove myself and make sure that, folks see the kind of manager I am, what I can do. And a lot of word of mouth played in, because the next company I worked for also was Poland based. And since this is a small market, people do recommend, or they will reach out to your former bosses and try to figure out if this person, especially if you're hiring for a head of sales or VP role, is the right person to bet on. But yeah, Hubstaff was a fluke, 100%, like Clarity.fm. Nobody's probably heard of it, but I was there. I got like a few calls from them, and it just made a good impression. And after that, it was just a lot of grunt work and, turn out to VP sales. So I wish I could say that there was a playbook and I had a strategy in mind. I didn't. I just did it. And, opportunities kind of fell on my lap. I didn't really go out searching for them. And I took advantage of those opportunities as they came. So yeah,
sounds like just right place, right time.
100%. That's kind of like the crux of my career. I was just in the right place at the right time, and a perfect opportunity came into place. But yeah, no strategy, no polishing my CV, no nothing. I have very little skill sets, to be really honest. I just don't know why the people bet on me the way they did, but it turned out to be pretty good.
Well, you must present yourself well and work hard, and people see that. So
I think that's sales in a nutshell.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the fact that you were also speaking, not everyone's going to be willing to do that. I don't know what the speaking engagement was, but the fact that you're up there, you're presenting yourself, and it's an opportunity. People see that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like sometimes with SDRs, it's sometimes, they could do all the right things, but there also has to be the opportunity there for them within that company, or, they have to go out and start applying and then actually get that role. And maybe they've never done, let's say, an AE role or management role. And it's different to be doing the work versus managing people doing the work. It's a different skill set. And so it doesn't always translate. Some of the best SDRs may not be, or even AEs may not be the best managers. They're good at managing themselves, but not others. And you got to put other people and their paychecks first over you.
Yeah, 100%.
You're managing them. What were some of the things you looked for over time? I know you managed you had several direct reports. Like, what were some of the things you looked for in others that stood out if you were going to promote them?
I think, like with sales, especially if you're working at a smaller company, there's only so many there's not a lot of places you can go and grow. Like you said, if you're an SDR, you could turn into an AE for the most part. But if you have a team of 4 people, you're not going to become a manager. The VP or the head most likely is going to run that team. So there's only so many different places you can go, or you can transition and go over into customer success or product. I've seen that happen. But like you said, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head here, which is not everybody's cut out to be manager. Being manager is a shit job. I swear to God, like I can tell you that right now. Like, I wish I was controversial as it may sound. I would love to be an account executive because I have my own quota. I can go hit it. I don't have to worry about anything. At 5 p.m., I'm done. But a manager, everything's on you. Numbers didn't hit. Doesn't matter what the A, X, Y, or Z did. It's on you. Quota didn't get hit, or your numbers are in the gutter. Close one rate is down. MQL to SQL is in the shitter. You're in the can. I mean, that's just how there is to it. So in terms of promotion, I've promoted a few people in my career. I always look for somebody who is already doing the job that I would be promoting them for. Because you can see quite a lot of those similarities, that they're already doing a lot of the legwork, or people are going to them for advice or feedback, or they're the go-to person and not me when I'm not there, or the manager's not there. And I love working with adults. I don't know. This is just something I've asked everybody. The people tell me that, hey, what do you look for? I look for adults, because adults know what they need to do. They put their big boy, girl pants on and they just go to work. That's all there is to it. There's no fuss. There's no drama. They don't come in what they need to do. So I get the appeal of management. It just looks very nice on paper. I don't know. I mean, if you were to ask me right now, 13 years of leading people, it has its highs, but the lows, they overpower the highs like 10 to 1.
Not to mention some of the personal issues that come up with the team that you ultimately have to deal with.
Yeah, it's your job, right? Like at the end of the day. And I think people are the most difficult part. It's the most fun part as well. I enjoy it. You get a lot of respect, but it is tough. Management is just, it's simply tough. There's just so many different variables. You're basically a sandwich between your team and reporting upwards, and it's ruthless. So as much as it may sound nice, and you said something about SDR being stuck, I will look at it a little bit differently. Like, that's your wheelhouse. You do it very good. And if you're going to do it right at company X and you're going to do it right at company Y, soon you're the go-to person for doing that particular activity. And you get known for it. You just enhance and hone your craft, so to speak. So I just don't think that there's anything wrong with being an SDR, or anything wrong with being an AE, or anything wrong with being a manager even per se. It's just that it's not as glamorous as people make it out to be. Burnout is real, and it sucks.
This episode is sponsored by LevelUp Leads, a B2B sales development and appointment setting agency. Companies always need pipeline, but they oftentimes don't want to hire SDRs internally. The whole process is risky and expensive. You've got hiring costs, onboarding, training, additional spend on your tech stack, a few months to ramp up. And with that being said, SDRs are a high turnover position, and the person you hire might not necessarily work out, so you need to start all over again. That's why companies outsource this. LevelUp Leads allocates a team of people, their tech stack, so you can onboard and launch your campaigns in about a week. They set qualified meetings in your calendar so your team has more selling opportunities. Visit levelupleads.io today to learn more. All right, now back to the show.
I think one of the best, because I talked to a lot of different people in sales, and one of the best roles you can have is a company that drives inbound for you and you sell that. Because if you can work, I know a few people that just have the luxury that they've just always worked off of inbound primarily. And it is such a game changer over time. Whereas if you're constantly having to go out and draw up your business, which to be honest is most companies, not everyone has the luxury as startups to have inbound traffic. And if they do, they might be going to other people, not you. So those are the types of roles where you can be in it for a long time and make good money. And not burn out. But that's tough to find, and sometimes you got to earn that.
Look, there's no such thing as an easy role in sales. I'm a firm believer in that, because every job comes with its challenges. I think at a certain point, you just even become numb to a lot of different things when you're doing outbound, for instance. But yeah, inbound, I agree with you, is a lot easier. Isn't it nice for the leads to be coming in and you just get to call them and they're semi-warm and close them? Like, pretty fucking do. I mean, I would take that any day of the week, right? But yeah, I mean, I know there's just not a lot of it out there. I see quite a lot of people, when they're preaching on LinkedIn, or I see videos of people telling, hey, you got to close this way, and these are the strategies you get to use. I don't think a lot of those folks realize it's such a privileged position to be able to go ahead and make those statements, because you're working with a company that is very well known, or it's known in its space. I dislike the word rocket ship, but it is propelling towards the factor of marketing is done well, and there's a perfect product market fit. You're doing $50-60 million in recurring revenue. Things start to become significantly easier at that stage versus a company who's doing $50,000 in MRR, still trying to figure out product market fit. Closing an inbound lead at that stage takes significantly more amount of power than it does when you're right at that level of company. You can say that. But yeah, inbound infinitely a lot easier than outbound 100% any day of the week.
And doing your outbound, if you have a brand like you're mentioning with some of these companies, just makes the job so much easier.
Yeah.
But again, that's not the reality for most people. So
yeah, for sure not.
You're hired to go out and hunt and drum up new business. So it's not easy.
Yeah.
So
kudos to those people who do it every day, like 100%.
Yeah, it's hard. So talk to us about Hubstaff. You joined, you said it was roughly 4 or 5 million ARR, and then when you left, it was 25 roughly. How
31.
did that happen? Sorry, what'd you say?
31, yeah.
31. Wow. Yeah. So what happened over your time there? What was the transition? How did you start propelling, and what you see shift in the company over time to start growing like that?
I think quite a lot of it is just riding the wave of COVID, frankly. That's where the company really started to take. Just to be clear, Hubstaff has been on the market for 12 years. It's a long time, right? That they've been in the market, but they really started to propel when this new wave of work from home came up. So like COVID hit, as you probably know, it was like pretty much everybody working from home. Every manager is scrambling to try to figure out, hey, are people being productive? How can we get them to be more productive? And that's where the productivity analytics started to kick in. And Hubstaff was on the market doing really well at that time, like $4 million or $5 million. By no means is a small amount to be doing in the SaaS world. So yeah, like when I joined, we were riding that wave of like pure inbound, like really a lot of inbound, like thousands of trials coming in on a weekly basis. When I first came in and I was doing a little bit of research, Jared, the CEO, wanted me to kind of like look at things. And I was like, this is a gold mine. There's so many leads that are not being converted. You should have a sales team, just somebody who could talk to these guys. And that's exactly what happened. We implemented a demo form. Lead would come in, request a demo. We would get 300-400 of those every single month. And lead to speed was really the key. I didn't really reinvent the wheel by any stretch of the imagination. Just set up HubSpot, set up the workflows. So the sales rep have to do nothing manually. And leads would just come to them, set up air calls, so you can just automatically dial to those particular leads.
Must be nice.
That was it. Like that was it. I was like, really? This is a piece of cake. It's never a piece of cake, but certainly it did help quite a lot that we were getting that kind of volume. So when you have that kind of inbound volume coming in, all you really need to do, and I'm sure you've experienced with that, is just set up the right processes. And it doesn't really matter what tool you use. You just need to have the right process and stick to the basics. You don't need to go with Medic or whatever. Just talk to people, learn the requirements. And, another privilege of working with Hubstaff is that it's a tool that doesn't cost that much. That's like $10 a pop, a person or user per seat per month. You can sell that quite easily. You can justify the ROI quite a lot. So it was a lot of combining factors that led to that growth curve that we saw at Hubstaff. The inbound working really well, hiring the right talent at the right time was certainly helpful. Marketing worked really well. Product was really easy to use for the most part. So I think like growing, I would attribute to that time period and the new space in which we live in the time, which is a lot of the remote work that played quite a lot. I'm not trying to minimize my role into it. I'm just hesitant in saying that this was all because of me. Like I certainly played a small role, but by no means, I think it was the product that really did it and the marketing that really made it a lot easier for us to be able to go ahead and close deals.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about marketing. It sounds like the timing was perfect with everyone going remote. And then, to talk to me about the marketing side, if you have knowledge on that front, like were you focusing on SEO? Did you have dedicated marketing people that were helping drive the inbound?
Yeah, 100%. That was it. That was the key, SEO. Dave, the ex-CEO and founder of Hubstaff, co-founder of Hubstaff, that was his skill set, was just marketing. There's an article that you wrote that is pretty interesting that I recommend everybody read if they're looking to start their company. It's like beginnings of Hubstaff. And one of the things that they always focused on was SEO, was content. They created content notoriously, quite a lot. And that was kind of like the pillar for driving everything. And that helps it with obviously brand building. It helps you center yourself as a tool in a certain space. Now, obviously, content is right, left, and center. It's so cheap to write. It is so easy with AI. People can spoof it. Like there's a lot of that, but this is what we're talking about back in the 2016, 2015, when SEO was starting to take off. And that was really, really the focus. I'm not saying we didn't spend money on ads. Of course we did.
I've gotten some of them on Instagram before, actually.
Yeah, I
went to your website and I started getting them. I was like, oh, okay.
So yeah, that's exactly it. And a lot of people saw it. And we were spending, at that point, spending thousands of dollars in ads trying to scale it up. But I think that's really the name of the game, right? In marketing, is that you cannot ride a certain wave of any one strategy. You have to constantly be trying different things, different avenues, different platforms. And that's exactly what we were doing with Instagram, with LinkedIn, with a lot of these different places, with webinars and so partnerships and so on and so forth. But marketing, primarily SEO, really played a big role. But you also have to factor in one thing, is that back in the day, like just before COVID and within the COVID time period when I joined Hubstaff, there weren't a lot of tools out there that were focused on productivity monitoring, right? So again, I mean, it's a lot of combinations, but it was also that the market wasn't as saturated as it is now. There's now Pomodoro timers, there's like time tracking right, left, and center, and pretty much every major tool like ClickUp and so on and so forth. So back then we didn't have that, which was advantageous because, the field's wide open and you're going to rock right through it because there's a lot of demand.
Yeah, all those project management tools incorporated it over time.
100%. So. It's just like it's like duh moment, right? But back then it wasn't. People didn't think that would be something that vast majority of people would want. But floodgates really got opened up with COVID. Like imagine today, everybody wants to do outbound. I'm sure you're going to enjoy a nice bump in the numbers, right? Because you happen to be in that field for the most part. And that's kind of like a lot of it for us. One of the fun things about being in that position is that these positions are very forgiving. You can be average and do a lot of average things, but you will still make a lot of sales. You will close a lot of business. So I just want to be cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of combinations working in our favor. It wasn't that we implemented a certain methodology which led to an influx. Our numbers were great. Our close rate was great. Our SQL and MQL to SQL, SQL to op, all your bottom line metrics, boom, awesome. But a lot of that was, of course, being driven by the fact that marketing did a great job and we had a very well-defined ICP.
I think one of the props to your ex-CEO who invested in content and SEO over time, because I think one of the hard things is, so a lot of companies will hire us to go do outbound, which is great. I do encourage that. But if you just rely on that and you're not focusing on the inbound funnel over time, I think you're really hurting yourself. And it's hard because you're going to invest all this time and money and you're not going to see any results for a while. That's the hard thing. Is whereas if you go out and hire an internal team or an agency like ours, where you do the outbound, you can see the results pretty quick. Or if you focus on inbound, you might not see anything for a while, and you're like, what am I dumping all this money into? And then like over time, it starts to pick up, and you're like, oh my God, like this is really what's the backbone of the business now.
I think like you raise a pretty good point. I think like outbound has some weird expectations that people have set up with outbound. Just tell me one function where you expect results to be instantaneous in SaaS. Even if you look at SEO, we talked about, it takes years for you to develop an SEO strategy, which would eventually turn into, like, it's very nice to hear thousands of trials now, but it was 12 years into or like 7 years into the making when I joined. These SEO and all that content and everything that was being created for Hubstaff to be positioned at a place where they can get these number of leads coming in frequently. Same as with outbound. Like, people want results instantaneously. You know who to target, just go out and get it. Yeah, dude, that takes time. It takes months to go ahead and perfect the messaging, the right people to target. Even just because you know your ICP doesn't mean that's the ICP that will respond to outbound.
Doesn't mean
messaging.
They're ready to buy either. So
right. And a lot of the outbound, which I think gets a bad rap, is that you're essentially turning those leads into inbound leads. Because I saw this tool yesterday. It was like Scripe or Swipe. I don't recall. But I signed up for the trial because I saw them, like an email come up. I was back in my mind and signed up. But I heard it through that email. I didn't click on the link to go through that. So the attribution obviously is broken. They're going to think, oh, this is Google, or it's coming organically, but it's not organically. So I think, like I said, coming back to the point that those positions are so forgiving, outbound is just not. And that's why the SDR's jobs are like even more harder than ever before, because it just sucks to be in that position. There's so much riding on you, but not a lot of the companies have that patience level or a factor. They just kind of feel like this is a cost center, but it's not. It is a revenue center. It's just, you need to give it a fair shake and a fair chance, just like you would give any department or any different function in SaaS.
100%. You're speaking my language right now. Yeah, a lot of the SDRs, they don't get the support either, like the tools, the training, or the time, like you're saying.
Yep.
Okay, so I want to also jump to post Hubstaff. Right? You spun off, you started your own company. Tell us about that.
Sure.
Tell us what you're up to now.
Like I said in the beginning, that I've had the good privilege of taking some time off, spending some time with my family, 13 years of working and always being focused on a job or a company. I've neglected a lot of those things, and I just want to spend time with my kids. That's it. That's all I want to do. I read this quote just before I left Hubstaff. The objective is not to get to the top of the building. The objective is to get out of the building. And it really stuck with me. So ever since then, I'm trying to find ways where I get to do things on my own terms. Again, it's a privileged position to speak from, but I want to find my own thing, which is where I started Zarda. I spent a lot of times building notes, creating notes in Notion for my teams. I wanted to find a way that I could make it easier for managers or just generally any team to reduce the amount of time that they're spending on creating different notes and playbooks and so on and so forth. So it's built a tool that would turn any video into a playbook and then constantly keep it updated based on the meetings that you have with the team. So I'm building that. It's a pretty exciting project that I have going on. But again, I'm not into building the next $1 billion company. I want to do it on my own terms, when I feel like it, how I feel like it, opinions be damned type of thing. I have a couple of folks that reached out, saw that I was free. They was like, well, we want to do some consulting with you. Do you have some time? I was like, sure. If I could spend, I don't know, an hour a day on this, I would be more than happy to do it. So I got 2 clients from consulting. So I started that back up. And that's enough for me to kind of like just pay my bills and, and just do my thing while I'm like figuring stuff out. And one of the unfortunate things, and I think you're doing a great job with this podcast, I didn't do, is that I was so focused on Hubstaff, at Presley, at live chat, at usability tools. I never really networked much. The last time I spoke at a stage was, I think, just before COVID. And then I got the opportunity 3 weeks ago, and it just kind of like changed. That's what I enjoy. That's what I love. So I want to pay back to my community. So I started a podcast where I just want to talk to operators, folks that do things on a day-to-day, build companies, do marketing, product, and try to see how growth looks like, because growth is never, it's a fun story to hear, from $4 million to 31. Dude, it was a pain in the ass. I like the amount of sacrifices I had to make personally. And I'm sure a lot of other people, it's not something that you hear quite a lot, but you see this perfect picture of a company growing. So started this podcast. We just wanted to talk to people and pay back to my community. And I'm hoping that's exactly what it does. But at the same time, I want to learn from people who are a lot smarter than me, which seems that everybody is, because I'm just a sales guy at the end of the day, and, not doing anything unique, reinventing the wheel, so to speak. So a lot's going on. But like I said, I'm in research phase, and I'm happy. I'm free. I'm spending most of my time with my kids, taking them from school, taking them to soccer, to boxing, to ballet. And if I can continue doing that, I think I figured out the cheat code to life.
Well, congrats. I do think there's networking and in-person and trust is coming back, just because of all the doubts, whether your email's written by you or AI, like there's just a lot of doubts in people. So I think you're onto something here. Like I think a lot of networking and in-person and referral-based stuff is coming back. So we'll see. Time will tell, but that's where I feel like things are leaning. Syed, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Where can the audience find you? Tell, what's the website and as well as the podcast. Where can people find you?
On LinkedIn, you could find it. The podcast is called Messy Growth. Wherever you listen to your podcast, you can go ahead and listen to it there. I'm not a promotional guy. It's not something I do, but I think if people find value, it's a good way to support each other 100%. But yeah, I'm mostly on LinkedIn. I don't use social media at all. I'm notorious for that. So if there's anybody who has a question or just wants to chat, I've got plenty of time in the world. Nowadays, I make my own schedule. So I'm happy to have a chat. But yeah, LinkedIn is the go-to place, or my email. You can reach out. I'd be more than happy to have a chat.
Thanks for coming on, Syed. I appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you for having me.